It's been a long time coming, but I know a change gonna come. Oh, yes it will.
Oakland, California, population 400,000, 8th largest city in the state, a major West Coast port, just 6 miles east of San Francisco. Uptown, Fox Theater, School of the Arts, condominiums. Times are good. But they're still here. Old and decaying houses, tucked up against industrial wastelands, and still violence, drugs, and poverty plague the people of Oakland. Far away from the booming downtown, West Oakland is filled with over 50 years of conflict, liberation, and defeat. My family has seen it all, the good, the bad, and the ugly. Huey Newton was born and died here. A 1-year-old in his father's arms was killed just off the main street, 7th Street.
7th Street is the main history of West Oakland because back then it had all types of nightclubs and restaurants and eateries on 7th Street. It was a very, very popular street.
By back then, he means the 50s and the 60s, when an industrial boom filled the shipyard with good jobs. Many blacks came from the South and settled in Oakland. People called it the second gold rush. However, issues with housing forced African Americans to live in West Oakland.
My mother owned a cafe on 7th Street called Emma's Cafe.
That's my uncle, Paul Fields. He remembers growing up in West Oakland during its prime.
So what I would do is take 20 cents out of the cash register, go to the movies, watch The Cowboy. When the Love Story came on, I left, went back to the cafe, ate, took 20 more cents, and went for the second movie, the third movie. So West Oakland was a major experience for me.
But it wouldn't last. The completion of the Nimitz Freeway to serve the port and the immense Army base cut through the heart of the city, slicing West Oakland off from downtown.
We had no exposure to politics of Oakland. West Oakland was predominantly black.
But when the jobs in the shipyard declined, so did the black population. West Oakland collapsed.
I looked around where San Francisco was too expensive, and I found a little tin shed on Lower Mandela. Now, I mean, it's Mandela now. It used to be Cypress Street, just 4 blocks from here. The rent was $75 a month.
And that was cheap enough for the sculptor, Bruce Beasley. The then recent UC Berkeley grad decided to build a studio.
There were no street lights, no street trees, no curbs and gutters. You know, it looked beat up and kind of trashy and depressed. And the bank said, yes, Mr. Beasley, we'd love to loan you some money. And they got out this map of Oakland, whole map of Oakland. And there was a big red line drawn around West Oakland. That's not a metaphor. Redlining was a red line on an actual map. And they said, they looked at the address and said, oh, we don't loan on anything down there.
Beasley, already on his way to international acclaim as an artist, borrowed the money from an art patron.
I said to myself one day, you know, Bruce, you're never going to have the right building in the right neighborhood. And probably better to have the right building in the wrong neighborhood and maybe get involved and help change the neighborhood.
By the 1960s, West Oakland was changing. It would soon become home to a movement that would shake the nation.
The concept of the Black Panthers had not came into play, but over a period of time, experiencing the level of racism that we were experiencing, they felt the need to develop the Black Panther Party.
This is the birthplace of the Black Panther Party. It was audacious, it was Oakland, and it scared America to death. For the emerging white radical movement, West Oakland became the center of the revolution. SDS, Students for a Democratic Society, primarily radical whites, moved into West Oakland and wanted Beasley's help. He declined.
See, here's the issue. Mrs. Johnson's goal in life is to get her daughter to graduate from McClymonds High School and not be pregnant. Mrs. Johnson thinks that you're a bunch of sinners and you're a terrible influence on her daughter. Now, I live here now. I bought this place. I'm going to live here for a long time. I got a feeling that you guys aren't going to be around very long, but Mrs. Johnson's going to be my neighbor for a long time. So that's why I'm kind of not just jumping in with you guys. It was a very important perception change to me that I was now a part of the neighborhood. It wasn't what should they do? It's what are we going to do?
Beasley never left West Oakland. He spent his life making art in the home he built from the ground up. By 1989, the Black Panther Party, under constant attack by the FBI, was finished. Huey Newton, its charismatic leader, was killed in West Oakland in a drug deal gone bad.
Just got the monitor back. Okay, we have pictures on the air.
Ultimately, it wasn't social, but seismic upheaval that changed the future of West Oakland. The Loma Prueta Earthquake of 1989 rattled the city to its core. The Cypress Freeway collapsed, 42 crushed to death under the concrete.
We were able to redesign the space where the freeway was, and now it is a beautiful linear park with landscaping and a pathway and bike paths, and it has brought the two sides of West Oakland together in a really wonderful way. Although it was tragic that so many people were hurt and the freeway collapsed, we no longer had the freeway there, and we fought very hard to keep the freeway from going back in that location.
The change is everywhere. New businesses, new amusements, and new people.
It's certainly the first really black neighborhood that I've ever lived in. I'm from New Hampshire, and then I lived in Colorado, so it's definitely a little bit different there.
John Evanovsky, a web coder and designer, is my new neighbor. He moved to West Oakland from San Francisco 2 years ago.
It's kind of like you have cheap neighborhoods that are predominantly black, but then there's also there's lots of spaces available for artists, for really whoever. And when you can get a lot of space for a little bit of money, it's only it's only natural that you would have some white people moving in.
And moving in with them is construction. Lots of construction. Building expensive lofts and condos in the heart of the ghetto. And some things longtime residents never thought they'd see. A skateboard festival. Oakland rapper and West Oakland native franchise welcomes the change, but wonders if the city's priorities are a bit off.
We have the West Oakland Health Center. We have the West Oakland Senior Center right across the street. You know what I mean? What are we doing for those people right now? There's nothing about this event that would make them depressed or angry. It's all uplifting, so it is good for the people, but there's more that you can do.
All this effort should have been put into West Oakland when it was native West Oaklanders living here. It could have made it better for us to appreciate West Oakland more, but now it makes us feel that we weren't cared enough about to spend that kind of money on.
If gentrification means pushing out the people who lived here prior and allowing new, wealthier people to come, I don't support that. I would like a community that has new people moving into the empty properties and retaining the character and the community that we have of people who have been traditionally in West Oakland for a long time.
I hope that it's not like that my coming here isn't directly pushing anyone out, and I don't necessarily feel like I'm pushing anybody out. But at the same time, I know that it does become a problem, for neighborhoods once you have the white populations moving in, the rent does become more expensive. And that's just how it kind of seems to go.
We got a white boy playing the violin at the Infirmary Park. That never would have happened when I was coming up. We'd have took the violin and ran him out the park.
The definition of gentrification is when people of a different race and a different economic standard move into someplace else. And I said, well, gosh, I guess that means me. To me, it's necessary to have a cheaper part of town. If you're going to have an expensive part of town, then if we're going to have a town with any vitality, we got to have a place where people in the bottom can be. The Bay Area is so desirable, and San Francisco is such a draw, that the physical proximity of West Oakland is asserting itself, whereas during the 30s and 40s and 50s, the negative aspects of West Oakland were enough to overcome the geographical the proximity that made it really geographically desirable. Well, that's changing now, and there's people that get caught up in that, and I don't have an answer.